Hey all, for today we're going to take a look at satellite imagery. What I'm showing right now here is an image of the southwestern Pacific north of New Zealand. This was taken about 2 hours ago. So a very neat picture there. How did I do this? Well, there's different ways of making good images like this. You could run Megidus, and I think I've got a video of that from a while back. But for just quick stuff like this, NASA has a GOES satellite page. And what you want to do to get there is just go to your search engine, put in MSFC GOES, and that'll take you to this interactive weather satellite imagery page. And this has got all of the US-run geostationary satellite sources. And for the most part, you're going to go either to GOES East CONUS or GOES West, which is further down. So there's not a whole lot going on in the U.S. right now, so let's take a look at the Pacific Ocean, because that's what we're going to be watching for developments later this weekend. Okay, so here's how to use this page. The main power is in this panel right down here, where you can specify the type of output you want, the map, and you can put in different types of infrared enhancements. So you can really kind of customize the way you want to see these images. So what I'm going to do is put in 800 for a height and 1200 to kind of give us a large image. And let's see, I'm going to boost the quality up just a little bit. And we'll do lat long for the heck of it. And what we do after that, we click on the image. We don't want to animate the image above. I just want to do a single image. So I'm going to click on the image like this. And that'll build that. This is a little bit too zoomed in. I want to get just kind of a general overview. So I'm going to take the zoom factor down to low. If you get errors with this, sometimes that happens, you'll want to decrease the height and width value because their code is a little bit flaky. But anyway, here we go. This is an infrared satellite image. And you have to know all the time whether you're looking at infrared or visible, because that affects how you're interpreting the images. It's obviously nighttime, and we're not going to be seeing anything visible, so we know that this is IR data. So this corresponds to basically temperature. And this is also an enhanced image. You see all this coloring through here? This is where the website has enhanced the brighter values. Now, we can actually get rid of that. I think there's probably a way of throwing out that enhancement, or at least changing it. Yeah, okay, so that option will give us unenhanced imagery. And what this basically comes down to is personal preference. If you like a certain color scheme, you can use that all the time. If not, you can use just, the plain vanilla one like what we're doing here. To keep things kind of simple, I'm going to do no enhancement as I discuss this. So what do we have here? We've got a lot of bright cloud material. So what does this brightness correspond to? Well, that's going to be cold cloud tops. And by cold, we're talking about high-level cloud material. So this is a lot of cirriform type clouds. Some of the tops could also be from cumulonimbus or very deep nimbostratus. But we know either way that the tops are definitely up there, like 20, 30,000 feet or so. On the other hand, your very grayish, darker clouds like we see down here, this is all going to be low cloud. This is stratus and stratocumulus. So bearing that in mind, what do we have going on here? Well, this stratus and stratocumulus, there's no higher layers really. So we know that this is not really associated with an upper level system. This is all, the reason that's down there is because we're getting this cool air mass flowing southward over the warmer waters, and that's causing it to destabilize a little bit, and we're getting these flat trade wind type stratocumulus through there. Elsewhere, though, we have the main baroclinic systems right in the middle. This is all what we call baroclinic, associated with fronts and classic cyclonic mid-latitude weather systems. We can also identify where the jet is. The jet is usually going to be found on the poleward side of these large cloud layers. You can see there's a transition on the other side to this open cell type cumulus to the north, and that's associated with instability back here in the cold air. So just a quick run through, the jet stream is going to probably look something like this, and I would expect that to curve out over this shield here and go up into Canada. There could be another segment out here, but there's not a whole lot of patterns to go off of right there. But the important thing is the jet is running through the Pacific in this area here, and we would expect to find the fronts probably something like, let me change my pen color, might expect to find a cold front like that, or maybe a little bit further back, maybe a warm front kind of like that. So this is giving us a general idea where to find fronts. And we can kind of correlate that with the surface data and kind of see where everything is. All right, then further north, what we have here, this is all occluding systems. This is kind of like the dying ground for old lows that form along the frontal boundary, and they eventually go north away from the jet stream, and they kind of like fizzle out in this area. So this area it's unstable, or I'm not going to say unstable, it's kind of unsettled, but it's fairly dormant compared to what's going on to the south. So this is going to be our main weather makers down here over the next couple weeks, or next couple days at least. I don't know about weeks. Okay, so what else can we look at here? Let me try a different enhancement, see what comes up. Yeah, so we've got all kinds of different schemes here. Looks like this one is very good for identifying very cold tops, like what we see here in Canada. So this is probably going to be associated with precipitation. Probably getting showers and pretty good rain moving through Seattle and Vancouver right now. And this really brings out the stratocumulus out here between California and Hawaii. See that right there? It really stands out. So depending on what you're using the satellite data for, it can really pay off to kind of go through the different enhancements and see what's the most useful for you. I'll do one more here, see what comes up. You can see that with this scheme, the stratocube does not stand out very well. But we can see a lot of very fine detailed structure in the cirrus and thicker cloud layers out in the Pacific. Not so much with the cloud tops that we have in Washington and British Columbia. You can see that the open cell cumulus out in this area really stands out. So if you're animating, that can really show you the trend of what's happening right there, whether those are increasing in intensity or dissipating. So that's the basics right there. Let me see if there's anything else we might want to look at. It's been pretty dull here in the U.S. the past few days. I guess after that blizzard left, we're looking at just this kind of like stagnating polar air across the U.S. Let me zoom that in a little bit. We'll take one quick look at that. See, there's that server error. When we get the server error, we've got to drop the sizes a little bit. Just some little tricks you have to know. Okay, had a little bit of lag there. See if that comes up. Getting a little bit more lag. And there we go. There's the US imagery at 7Z. So this is about 15 minutes ago. And it's showing mostly just high layers. I don't see a whole lot of low cloud on this image. There's a system in the Great Lakes right there. You see that spiraling with that system right there? There's probably going to be a jet stream coming off this British Columbia system into the back of this one and then going across Quebec like that. So that's where we would expect to find the polar front jet. And it does look like there's a bit of a subtropical jet maybe coming up from Mexico like that. They generally don't go very far north. I'm kind of skeptical that it goes all the way up to Bermuda. It probably just kind of hangs around in Florida and then arcs back to the south, something like that. But we can take a look at upper air charts and kind of see what the deal is with that. You can barely see the lakes here in Texas, and that's probably one little item I might want to cover here. Let me turn the zoom to very high. We'll zoom in on Texas right there. You see the warm lakes right there? Lakes and reservoirs all over Texas. That's one thing that you can watch when we have stratus surging northward from the Gulf. When we have stratus offshore during the cool season, a lot of times the temperature of that stratus matches the temperature of the ground, so we don't see it on the IR very well. But when it moves northward, we see the lakes start disappearing one by one. And that's one way you can kind of follow those layers when they surge north out of the Gulf. But right now, it's mostly just kind of a cool air mass, and I don't see any low cloud at this time. Anything else I want to cover? Well, I think that's probably it. That's just a basic tutorial there, and I think as we get into the weekend, I guess we're just a couple days away from that, we're going to start tracking that West Coast system and see what that's doing. And I'll show you a couple model sites, and we'll have something to look at and have some fun with that. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.